I'm turning 29 this week. One more year and I'll be 30. There's a lot of pressure when you're getting close to your 30s. When are you gonna get married? Will you have kids? But I'm looking at my 20s and all these memories. New friendships, people I lost, and all the things that are precious to me. But there's a big shadow hanging over the last decade of my life. I had an eating disorder for 10 years. It started when I was 17. It started as a diet. There was a lot going on in my life. I remember wanting to have some control, but I never really wanted to lose that much weight. In fact, for the majority of my teenage years, I always thought that I'm too skinny, that I have to be more curvy. I guess I felt like I could never fit in. So when my mom got divorced again, my stepdad moved out, we moved to a new apartment, my sister moved out of town, and my dad wasn't in the country, I felt like I lost everything. So I tried to change something, to fill my life with something that makes me feel fulfilled, and I started to work out more and more. And even though I always enjoyed working out, it quickly became super obsessive. The more I moved out, the more I had the urge to control my food, trying one diet after another, even though I didn't even know what diets or calories were before. I literally had to sit down and Google it all. And the more I Googled, the more dangerous everything kind of sounded. Carbs were bad, fats were bad, calories overall, calories in, calories out. And again, I never had an issue with that before. Losing weight made me feel like I could finally achieve something. I remember the first time the number on the scale dropped, I felt this weird high. Even though, again, I never really had the urge to lose weight before. But I was locked in. The more I lost, the more I felt like I was onto something. And people reacted great. Everyone was saying that I was so disciplined, I ate always so healthy, I always chose the salad, and I worked out so much. And even teachers praised me for my healthy lifestyle. But internally, I felt completely empty. The more I lost weight and the more I went to work out, the bigger my urge to just eat everything around me was. Back then, I thought that's a sign of bad self-control, of not having discipline. And so I started doing a cheat day. Back in the days, 2013, cheat days were really big. They were known as kicking your metabolism. If you diet the whole week and you do a cheat day, you can eat everything that you want and your metabolism will just speed up. So that's what I did. What I didn't understand was that the cheat day was basically a binge-restrict cycle in disguise. And after every cheat day, I felt worse, I ate even more restrictive, I went to the gym even more. That cycle held on for over 1 year, and the only person who actually really noticed it was my boyfriend at the time. I know that he only wanted to help me, but I pushed him away more and more, and the more I got into my eating disorder, worse our relationship was. In the end, I actually lied to him. I said that I ate food, I tried to hide food and said that I ate it already. I lied to get more steps in, and I was freezing all the time. All my boyfriend wanted for me to eat. The relationship ended, and for a short time I actually wanted to show him that he made a mistake, that I was able to recover. So I had a short recovery attempt, but because I did it for him and it was never for the right reasons, I quickly relapsed. At that time I was also deep into all the pro-Anna sites, whether it was on Tumblr, Instagram or anywhere else. And the more I spent time on those sites, the more connected I felt to this whole community. It was a very toxic community, people giving each other reminders on how to lose weight or motivational quotes that were in fact not very motivational. Because the more I did it, the more I lost my life, my passions, my happiness and my freedom. At a certain point, I decided that I wanted to go in a clinic. And the main reason was actually because I thought if I never was in a clinic, if I was never hospitalized, my eating disorder is not worthy. I'm not even sick enough. So I was 19 at the time and I admitted myself to a clinic. There was a very long wait time of several months, and the longer I had to wait, the more I panicked. And I was like, what if I'm too big to go to a clinic? What if everyone will make fun of me or nobody will take me serious? Looking back at it now, I understand how sick I was, because what healthy person would want others to look at them and think they are sick? What healthy person would make the thing that makes them to go into a clinic even worse before they're going? But I was so caught up in that eating disorder mind. I was so caught up in the idea of having to look a certain way in order to be sick enough that I continued doing what I'm doing until I was at a very unhealthy point. At that time, and I didn't really realize it back then, I was dangerously close to lose my life. But all that counted was my eating disorder. All that counted was to have control, to not gain a pound, and every time I looked in the mirror, I still perceived myself as too big. I didn't realize that this was my brain tricking me, and I thought, I'm seeing what I'm seeing. How can there be a wrong perception? My eyes are working. I didn't understand anything about eating disorders. Being in the clinic was an experience that I'm honestly not regretting. It was just not as helpful as it could have been. And the reason for that was only myself. I thought I'm gonna go into the clinic and they're gonna make me healthy. And that certainly doesn't work. I didn't want to recover because I was holding on to this eating disorder for too many reasons that I hadn't discovered yet. And I made some great friends. I definitely had great conversations, and I'm still friends with some of the people I met in the clinic back then. But unfortunately, that was all. The whole time that I was inpatient, I cheated. I pretended to eat food, I pretended to drink supplement drinks, I pretended to gain weight, and I didn't. So once I was discharged, everything started over again. That's when I decided to move out of my hometown and to go to college. I thought moving away from the place that made me sick will help me. Nobody knows me in college, I can just start over. But again, that can be super helpful, but it's not if you're not changing your actions. And so I moved all the way through the country to a completely different city and started college. I made great friends, and I overall still had a great college experience, but I deeply regret not being healthy at that time. There were so many nights when I said, no, I can't, I'm busy, I have to work, I'm sick. There were so many times where I didn't attend something, where I didn't really have the attention span, where I didn't receive the best grades because all I was doing was walking around to make sure I satisfied my eating disorder. I never went to dinner with anyone in 6 years of college. I only ate with people if I measured my food before, if I was able to make sure I knew every single ingredient and every single calorie, because I was so obsessed with calories that I even weighed chewing gum. And I still received a bunch of compliments. Many people around me were very aware, but nobody really talked about it, and I only talked to my close friends about it. And some people still saw me as the disciplined person, or saw my body as something that is admirable. Thinking about it now, it makes me very sad, because at that time I always thought, oh, if I'm not looking sick enough, or if someone gives me a compliment, that means that it's not bad enough yet. And the question was, why did it need to be bad? But I didn't understand that at the time, and so I continued running my body to the ground, ignoring all the warning signs, ignoring all the doctors, and just telling myself, well, I'm still functioning, I'm still working, so it can't be that bad. When I was 21 years old, I traveled to America to visit my uncle and my aunt. My aunt, unfortunately, was sick with cancer, and my uncle was on a business trip, so I decided to help her out. Unfortunately, she passed away, and I will never forget the regret that I felt, because we spent the night together, we watched movies, and we got to talk. But the whole day before that, I was just walking around to count my steps instead of spending time with her. I'm still thinking about her to this day, and it really hurts that I couldn't spend more time with her. But at the same time, I know that she would be incredibly proud of me. Now I'm living in Los Angeles, so close to the place that she lived in, and I'm fully recovered, which nobody ever thought would happen. During that time, I absolutely fell in love with California. I came here all the time, and every time when I was here, my eating disorder seemed to get a little bit better. Being away from Germany, living the dream. But of course, who am I fooling? I was still walking around, I was still counting calories and taking advantage of all the sugar-free foods that you can get here. In 2019, I walked the Camino, and I told everyone this was a time to find myself, when in fact, it was a great opportunity for me to just count in a lot of steps. Of course, I journaled a lot, and of course, I don't regret that journey, but I just wish I could have done it differently. Maybe I'm gonna do it again. But these are the things that I want to share with you guys. Because yes, I did do a lot of things. But the experience would have been way different if I would have been healthy. Afterwards, COVID hit. And while I always thought that COVID never had any impact on my eating disorder, looking back now, it definitely did. When the lockdown happened, I was still in my college town. College started to be virtual. We were all sitting at home, and more of my friends from college left the city to be with their families. At that time, I was just doing my thing, walking around, working way too much, counting calories, being obsessive about the salad at the store because we never knew how much food there was gonna left. Nobody knew what's going on. And even though I always told myself, oh, this lockdown isn't too bad, I'm like an introvert, I don't even hang out with people that much, that was definitely my eating disorder speaking. So looking back now, the pandemic probably made things a lot worse for me just because my eating disorder could completely take over. But at that time I felt like, oh, I'm so happy, I am not missing anything. I decided to move to Berlin because college was still virtual and I had finished my bachelor's and was in my master's. Moving to Berlin was another step, one of those things I always wanted to do, and one of those things that convinced my eating disorder, hey, we're doing all the things, we're good, we can coexist, we can live together. But I was doing the same thing in Berlin. I have some friends there. One of my best friends actually lives in Berlin, and she was always a big support, but even she couldn't handle it at one point. And she was very honest with me, and I remember how heartbroken I was when she told me, I'm not sure if I can see you that often. And I was never mad at her. I was just heartbroken because at that time I started to realize how much the eating disorder had taken away from me. In the same year, I attended the green card lottery because my big dream, my big goal to move to the United States was still there. And I won the first attempt. That actually motivated me to make changes. But my eating disorder told me, let's just wait until we're moving to America. We can still do this as long as we're in Germany. And so I continued doing the whole thing. I had to see a doctor, a special doctor, in order to get the green card, where they check your whole history, and I remember how scared I was of that appointment. America was the one big life goal, the most important thing of my life, except for the eating disorder. Because everyone around me told me, why don't you just make sure to be healthier when you have to go to your doctor's appointment? Why don't you just make sure to put on some weight? And my eating disorder had different plans. The more I stressed out, the more my eating disorder took over. And I ended up going to the doctor's appointments at one of my lowest weights ever. I was very, very lucky that this didn't have an impact on my green card. And I received my green card in December. And I decided to move to New York in February. I always wanted to move to California, but at the same time, I know my brain, I know myself, and I was like, if I move to California now, I'm never gonna leave. So I moved to New York. I had a great opportunity to stay, and the first couple of weeks were amazing. I was so happy, and I actually started recovery coaching. I worked with a coach, and she was the one who pushed me out of my comfort zone, the thing that nobody had ever done in over 10 years because I was never ready. Now that I was in New York, I was finally ready, and I invested that money. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it. But instead of being happier and healthier and feeling more free because I could finally eat, I felt more and more alone. All of a sudden, all those emotions that I had suppressed for so long came up, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I even had a panic attack, which I never experienced before. And so I decided to fly out to my aunt to California, because that was my lucky place, right? But my depression continued to get worse in California, and so I had to go back to Germany and seek professional help. I ended up staying in Germany for another year, and that was the best decision ever. I always wanted to flee that place because I was convinced this was the place that made me sick. Never really taking responsibility for my own actions and for the fact that it wasn't my fault that I had developed an eating disorder, but it was in fact my fault that I never chose recovery before. Once I really went all in and started the whole recovery process, allowed myself to listen to my mental hunger, to my physical hunger, to consume thousands of calories a day for over 2 years, I started to face a lot of challenges. Yes, recovery is hard, but it was not all about the weight gain. The weight gain felt like the hardest part for me, but looking back at it now, all the emotions that came up, all the guilt, all the shame, all the anger, everything that I had suppressed for 10 years came up. My first birthday in recovery was shortly before I went back to Germany. It was my 26th birthday. I remember thinking, oh wow, I haven't had a birthday where I actually ate cake in over 9 years. How crazy is that? And that kind of marked the beginning of my recovery for me. So sitting here now and thinking about all of that, sitting in Los Angeles, having a relationship, being fully recovered, and now working with people in recovery, and being able to eat that cake, to eat that dinner, to go out, to do all the things, makes me very proud, but it also makes me emotional because I feel like I wasted a part of my life. And I just want to share that with you guys because it's never a waste of time. Even if you have spent decades, 40, 50 years, even longer with an eating disorder, you still have a life ahead. You can still recover from an eating disorder. And I know that there are a lot of people watching who might be younger, who haven't had an eating disorder for so long. It is still valid. It's not about how long you had the eating disorder. It's not about how much time you wasted. It's about making the decision to recover now. I really hope sharing my story inspired some of you guys. I really hope we can build this community together because recovery is possible. And I'm sharing all of this with you because the only thing I regret is that I didn't start recovery earlier. So whoever needs to hear that today, please take my advice. Please jump into the cold water. It will be uncomfortable. It will be challenging. It will be hard, but it will be so worth it. And now I'm gonna turn off this camera, move on with my day, and have a freaking amazing 29th birthday because I will make the most of this year. I will create this space of healing. I will film more videos for you guys. I will work with more clients. I will help more of you guys on their way to recovery. And this year will be freaking amazing. Thank you all for watching.